The West Ham footballer was in a terrible accident. And here's how the team reacted to this in yesterday's match. Get your tissues ready, the story's simply tear-jerking. Vinicius Jr. declined Real Madrid's contract extension due to the club's stance on Kylian Mbappe, potentially costing them €1 billion. Vinny is preparing to move to the desert. Paul Pogba is returning to Manchester United. No one expected such a turn of events. We're talking about this and much more today. Friends, this is Dose of Football. There are a lot of news today, so 2 hours ago on our second channel, another video was released before Dose of Football. Be sure to check it out. The link will be in the description. And don't forget, 5,000 thumbs up. Today means a new video tomorrow. Well, I wish you a pleasant appetite and a pleasant viewing. The arrival of Gemma, Redcliffe, and Ineos. He was meant to save United from the Glazers' chaos and inadequacy. Redcliffe really started to change the club for the better, first assembling a top-notch team at United. But then thunder roared in the clear sky. The Red Devils fired sports director Dan Ashworth, who was appointed just 5 months ago. And even with a fight-off from Newcastle United, MU spent nearly 6 months negotiating with the 40 for the sports director position. Newcastle sent the specialist on a so-called gardening leave and asked the Mancunians for compensation of £20 million. MU took a firm stance, ultimately paying between $2 and $5 million. Ed Woodward is considered one of the best sports directors in the world. In Newcastle, he assembled a fighting squad, he completely transformed Brighton, and United fired him, not even giving him a long time to work. What's the matter? The club says the decision is mutual. Reports indicate that Redcliffe demanded Ashford's dismissal, holding Sporter responsible for Dan extending Erik ten Hag, and for not actively participating in the discussions about appointing Robban Marima. But only in September, Ashford stated he didn't participate in extending ten Hag. Plus, the same person wrote about this. And it seems that all the insiders about the fact that it was Ashford who left ten Hag, which appeared with his dismissal, are just an attempt to blacken Dan and justify his dismissal, which greatly affects the club's reputation. Redcliffe said that he did not make the decision independently, and in general, everyone in the club hung up meticulously. The situation is very strange, and he talks about Clown Otto continuing in United. Gary Neville said, "There can be no mutual understanding in this situation. Dan achieved success everywhere, which shocked me. The club hasn't had a say for 10 years. Lost authority and courage. Obviously something happened. Just tell us about it." I think the statement was weak. Neville's frustration is easy to understand. Redcliffe pledged a solemn and considerate method. And they don't even smell yet. Here's a contender for Gabriel Jesus. Since moving from Manchester City to Arsenal, the Brazilian's performance has significantly declined. Not just once, but twice. He lost the competition for a place in the starting lineup to the unprofessional forward Kai Havertz, rarely appearing on the field. In 4 months of the new season, Gabriel Jesus has not made a single productive action in the Premier League and Champions League, while his value is estimated at €55 million, hence the logical absence of contenders, despite Arsenal's desire to sell the Brazilian. But as the transfer window approaches, the situation is slowly changing. 2 clubs have shown interest in the unsuccessful forward, one from the English League and the other from the Spanish League. According to a source, the management is considering buying the Brazilian. Staff changes may occur in Newcastle, related to the sale of Alexander Isak. Jesus is a potential option to replace the Swedish striker. However, the Brazilian does not express a desire to remain in the UK. Therefore, he is more attracted to the second option, namely Atletico Madrid. Serious changes are also expected in Diego Simeone's team. At the end of the season, Atletico may leave the longtime leader Antoine Griezmann. Angel Correa's future is also uncertain. The exit of these 2 players worsens Madrid's attacking lineup deficit. To minimize its impact on the result, Atletico wants to try to sign Jesus. But the management will take such a step only on the condition that Arsenal's appetites are significantly below the market value of the player. However, the same source says that the Gunners plan to ask for $50 million for the Brazilian. Well, we wish luck in trying to sell the falling player with 0 in the column of scored goals for such a price. As I said in previous issues, it will be a fortune if he's bought for a dime for 20. At the same time, the Gunners continue their search for a forward. Rumors earlier suggested Leipzig's Benjamin Šeška and Sporting's Victor Gyökeres were also interested in Isaac. But now a new name, João Pedro from Brighton, has appeared on the management's table. He's an interesting youngster who has been playing in the Premier League for several years now. He impresses not so much with his results. They are decent, but not extremely strong, as with his versatility. Pedro can cover practically any position in the attack and play there at a decent level. Still, the player's main profile is the position on the edge of the attack. Brighton will ask for €50 million for the young Universal. For such a promising player, this is, in principle, adequate money. Paris Saint-Germain is once again preparing to poach a star from Barcelona. Remember what triggered Neymar's record transfer? Back then, the Catalans wanted to acquire Paris Saint-Germain's midfielder, Marco Verratti, and were conducting some shady negotiations with him. Paris Saint-Germain's management wanted to retaliate against Barcelona by poaching one of the team's main stars. But the Parisians' outrages over the Catalans did not end there. Just as Ousmane Dembele was coming into form and was set to become the leader of Barcelona's attack, Paris decided to activate the buyout clause in the last week of the window, and the Frenchman, without any remorse, agreed to the transfer. There was no evil without some good. Xavi called up a young starlet from the academy named Lamine Yamal. The rest, as you know, is history. Now, the Parisians have set their sights again on a Barcelona player with a big name. Luis Enrique demands the management to buy him defenders that fit his philosophy. Such a footballer plays for the Catalan team. But this may change soon, as according to Spanish media and Paris Saint-Germain, they want to sign Frenkie de Jong in the January window. Luis Enrique managed to work with the Dutchman in the last season of his coaching in Barcelona. Therefore, he knows his strengths well. Spain believes that De Jong will fit perfectly into his team. I can easily imagine this. PSG's attractiveness will substantially rise when the Dutchman arrives. Now the team can control the ball while creating 2 moments for the entire game. It seems to me this is where Enrique's philosophy lies. Lull your opponent into complacency, then suddenly break through his defense with a sharp attack. Somewhere around the 80th minute. Frenkie fits well into this kind of football. He has all the data for this. He can hold the ball and make a short pass to the nearest defender. Also, the Dutchman, with a special mastery, steps on the toes of opponents in the penalty area, causing unnecessary penalties. In general, I think they will get along with Enrique. And if seriously, then a queue of clubs wishing to acquire him began to line up for Frenkie de Jong, after Barca put the Dutchman on the transfer market. Liverpool, Manchester United, and Paris Saint-Germain are already being mentioned among the candidates. This means De Jong will be sold soon, benefiting Barcelona. His transfer will reduce a significant portion of salary expenses and bring in substantial money for the underperforming midfielder. And in the current situation, Barca needs to take such steps. And what if there is a possibility of Paul Pogba returning to Old Trafford? How would you react to such news? I personally have little faith in such an outcome, but I allow it. After all, the version of Paul Pogba that I remember from the game 5 years ago fits well with Ruben Amorim's football. The aging Frenchman has been absent from major matches for an extended period, but it may be that during the disqualification period, he solved all his health problems and is now fully combat ready. In general, where did the information about returning to Manchester United come from? The former forward of the Red Devils, Luis, shared it. I've heard rumors that Paul Pogba will be offered to return and train with Manchester United next year, and I think that would have been a great opportunity for him. He needs to get back to his best level as soon as possible, and training with the best players can help him with this. I think he would be happy to have the chance to return to the club, the Frenchman said. If Pogba starts training under the guidance of Ruben Amorim, it could yield results. The coach is betting on the resilience of the players. Thanks to such an approach, Pogba may be able to improve his physical form and get closer to the requirements for playing at a high level. In other words, such a move will bring benefits to the footballer. Moreover, if the Frenchman shows his good side, the management may decide to sign him, just for half a year, for the depth of the squad. This will be a good opportunity for him to test his abilities. Moreover, he recently said that he is ready to jump into big football with both feet, and fate is about to give him such a great chance to fulfill his promise. So let him try. I want to see the best version of Pogba again. And if he can't make it at Manchester United, they'll be happy to see him in Marseille. Adrien Rabiot, a newcomer to Provence who played with Pogba at Juventus and the French national team, said this. I would like to play with Paul too. We definitely invite him to come and play with us in Marseille. If he wants to come, we will be very happy to welcome him, Rabe said. And as you can see, despite the long absence of practice, Pogba's persona is attracting interest from good European teams. No one knows what form he is in now, but the interest in him continues. West Ham's management has come up with a brilliant idea with candidates for the coaching chair, which once again shows why this team can't achieve success either domestically or internationally. If you're an American Football League fan, you probably know that Julen Lopetegui is now leading the Hammer Throwers. The coach was appointed over Rubina Amorim, who West Ham actively courted last summer. What do you think is the strangeness of such a decision? Amorim and Lopetegui play slightly different football, in connection with which the question arises, what was the leadership based on when selecting candidates? Judging by everything, not on anything. They just looked for someone who could fill the position of the head coach and not disappoint the fans with his name. As a result, the team is not showing good play and is even in 14th place in the tournament table. For this reason, Julen Lopetegui is on the verge of dismissal. But who is our respected West Ham leadership considering as his replacement? According to many sources, Massimiliano Allegri and Graham Potter. And look, it's getting interesting. Potter doesn't want a long-term contract with the London team and is ready to take over as head coach until the end of the season, after which the Moldovans plan to appoint Allegri, who does not want to become the head in the middle of the season. The persona of the Italian coach is ambiguous in itself, but the fact that they plan to replace Potter with him makes the situation absurd. These two coaches also have different styles. That is, after the players have to adapt to Potter's football, it speaks volumes about the fact that the management does not understand what kind of football the team should have with the existing set of players. It makes decisions at absolute random and just hopes for the best. Such an approach can only work if they are really lucky. In general, despite the loud names of future performers, I do not expect a beautiful game from West Ham. A fish rots from the head down, and the results won't get better if the management doesn't add a bit of adequacy to its leadership. Over the past few years in Jose Mourinho's career, an interesting trend can be noticed. First, he held a coaching position of one team for about 3 years, then 2.5, then 2. And now, he even risks leaving his job half a year after his appointment. Yes, you all understood correctly. They want to fire him again. Fenerbahce's management invited him with the hope that he would return the team's former greatness, lead it to victory in the national championship, and fight for the European Cup. But the results in the Turkish league did not improve. Fenerbahce continues to lose ground to the leading position of Galatasaray. This is despite the overall level of competitors has decreased. For instance, there's no longer a prime Başakşehir in Turkey. Beşiktaş also has a bad year. And what to say when the fourth line is occupied by Eyüpspor, who spent last season in the second division? Things in the Europa League are also not going the best way. Jose Mourinho takes pride in his ability to excel in cup tournaments. But, to his regret, they introduced a new format in which you need to hold your own mini-championship, and the Portuguese was not ready for it. Fenerbahce has only scored 8 points out of a possible 15 and is currently in 15th place. According to the source, the Canary Islands management does not want to tolerate the Portuguese coach for long with such results and is planning to fire him if the team loses to Atletico in the Europa League. Abbas, among others, are leading and showing strong football throughout the season. They even recently beat Real Madrid, so it's not hard to imagine them beating Fenerbahce. I find the management's decision ridiculous. It's hard to compete with Galatasaray because their team is on a completely different level. It's this team, I believe, that is capable of waging a fight for the top 4 in the best leagues in Europe. What's the point of leading in some Turkish championship? And the current position in the international tournament still gives Fenerbahce the right to participate in the playoffs. And this will already be familiar territory for Mourinho. I believe that the Portuguese needs to be given the chance to work through this season. After all, his departure will not improve the team's position. At least there will be a chance to fight for the European League trophy. And you should feel sorry for the old man. Who will take him after such a hasty dismissal from the Turkish club? Look, he might even have to end his career. Rumors about the likely departure of Vinicius Jr. from Real Madrid started appearing last season, primarily due to interest from the East. The Sheikhs are ready to make the Brazilian the highest paid athlete in the world, and to offer a historic contract worth €1 billion. This is on top of various other benefits. For example, they are ready to sponsor the charity funds of the Brazilian and help him in various activities beyond the field. And to everyone in the world saying, look, we've signed one of the best in the world. Saying, look, we've signed one of the best players in the world in the prime of his strength, and he did not refuse to go to our league. After that, as the sheikhs predict, inviting stars from Europe to the league will be much easier. Who knows? The idea could save locals money in the long run. European footballers may agree to lower salaries, following the path paved by Cristiano Ronaldo to the east and popularized by Vinicius, who is needed in Saudi Arabia. The winger is set to become a martyr after this tournament. The Saudi Arabian winger Vinicius is determined to become a martyr after this tournament. It will be challenging to change his mind now. Vini vowed to win the golden ball at any cost. Given the Brazilian's tenacity, he is unlikely to deviate from his goal until he achieves it. Only in reality, according to some data, Vini is no longer valued as before. It's all because of Mbappe. It would seem Kylian shows nothing and drags the team not in the direction you would like. But no, a handful of Spanish media claim that Florentino Perez is still convinced that the central figure of the project should be Mbappe, but definitely not Vinicius. And such a priority of the president surely offends the Brazilian. And it may lead to his transfer. According to information, Vinicius has already decided to leave Madrid. Management is preparing a new contract offer to retain him. But Vini is considering other options. Manchester United and Paris Saint-Germain are ready to buy the forward. MU and Passage are clearly weaker than Real. But if Vini takes one of the clubs to a new level and wins the Champions League with it, then the golden ball will be in his pocket. And this is the main goal of the Brazilian for the coming years. West Ham United created a real miracle in the match against Wolverhampton. The game was dedicated to Michail, who was in a car accident. The Englishman was out for at least a year, and the Hammers decided to support him. West Ham players warmed up before the match wearing Antonio's jerseys. The entire Olympic Stadium was in banners dedicated to the injured, brought by London fans. Antonio was on the scoreboard. On the 9th minute of the match, in honor of Antonio's jersey number, the fans stood up and chanted the forward's name, and the footballers made a small move in honor of their teammate. West Ham just has a disgustingly organized game. Thanks to Lopetegui's blunder, Malata Boys is one of the worst American Football League teams with complete hopelessness in positioning and holes in defense. West Ham could have easily flown away from Wolverhampton, securing Lopetegui's immediate dismissal, but the players pulled out the match solely for Antonio. Before the game, ex-West Ham coach Slaven Bilic stated that he follows his favorite team and is unhappy with how West Ham is playing. After all, the footballers are upset. They are visibly not fighting for each other. And that's true. But yesterday, everything was completely different. The fighters united for Anton. And even despite the lack of tactical support, they won this match. Thomas Soucek scored West Ham's first goal from a corner, heading the ball into the net along the sideline. And he dedicated the goal to Antonio, pointing to the camera with the number 9 on his finger. Wolves equalized, but West Ham responded immediately. He made a goal literally out of nothing. And he also dedicated the dunk to Michail, demonstrating his team partner's move. Surely, barring an accident, West Ham would have won this game. But the footballers did everything possible to show their support for the partner. The injured player was surely watching this match from his hospital bed. He must have been very pleased to see the efforts of his partners and fans. A very beautiful and touching game came out. If you missed it, be sure to catch up. The review is in our Telegraph, and the link is in the description of the channel and in the pinned comment. Friends, be sure to subscribe to our Telegraph. I won't stop inviting you to do this because isn't it really the best football telegraph out there? Well, write in the comments who does it better. And that's all for today. Thank you for watching and for subscribing to the channel. My name is Kirill Cast, and this was your daily dose of football. Peace to your house and Johanga, friends.